Hi, Dr. Lansing.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you back.
I'm well, thank you. We're just waiting one more minute for our co-chairs to join for the CNC committee. Oh, here's Heather. Hey, Heather.
Hey there, Annika. Welcome back.
Thank you. We can go ahead and get started, I guess, if that works for you, Heather. I'm not sure what the turnout is going to be like today because I didn't send out a reminder email very far in advance of this, so sorry about that, everyone. I'm Annika Lefebvre. I am the Resilience Program Coordinator with the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. This is the Communication and Coordination Committee's local food council collaborative roundtable meeting that we have a few times a year. And we have Michelle here with us now too. I just wanted to, before I forget, introduce Adrienne Fantasia, who is the Year of Service Fellow who's working with the Maryland Office of Resilience starting today. Adrienne, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, hi everybody, thank you. And I actually used to work under Dr. Lansing at the University of Maryland for NourishNet, so that's a fun connection. Thanks for the introduction.
Great, thank you so much. Okay,
good to see you here. Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to Heather and Michelle to give us a hello, and then we'll just run through announcements and then get into our roundtable discussion. Heather?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It's terrific to see you. I'm Heather Breskin. I am the Montgomery County Office of Food Systems Resilience Director and a proud co-chair of this committee and colleague of you all. And so, Michelle, you want to say hello as well?
Hi, everyone. Good to see folks on the call. It's been a while and just excited to hear what everyone's been up to and excited for feels like a new year because it's a new school year. But yeah, it's that school year timeline is always interesting. So it's great to see you all in this new year-ish.
Yeah. And I know we've got a smaller group, but I think we've got good representation from a number of the food councils from around the state. And so the FSRC really wants to create space for sharing what is happening across Maryland, best practices, challenges, and also just build community around our food council practitioners. So that's really the goal of our time together today. Thank you so much, Annika, for keeping us coordinated, and welcome Adrienne to the terrific team at MDEM. So I know we had a couple of announcements that you wanted to make, and then I think the real focus of today's agenda is to just run around table format from everyone on what has been new in your corner of the state.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. So the next Distribution and Access Committee and Environment and Production Committee meetings are both happening next Thursday, the 18th. Sorry for my typo. So it's 10 to 11 a.m. for Distribution and Access and 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. for Environment and Production. So they're back to back. The next full council meeting is going to be happening on September 25th at 10 a.m. So we hope to see everyone there. And as always, the meeting links are available on the council's website, so anyone can join. But please feel free to email me with any questions. I did have an announcement request from Shannon McDonald from the Maryland Department of the Environment. She asked if I could share the food donation guide that the state has published. She's looking for feedback from the local food councils and other partners, just any edit changes, updates that you think should be included. She says that the changes can happen at any point, but she's really looking to make sure it is up to date and reflects what current policies look like for food donation. So any questions you have or comments, you can send them to her. I put her email there in the chat. But with that, I think we're just going to get right into the local food council updates. I have our list of food councils, and I guess I'll just run down the list and see if we have someone to represent each food council. Does that sound good, Heather and Michelle? Great. Okay. So here's our list, and I'm just repeating the questions that Summer put together for our last version of this. What are the major initiatives that your council's working on? Are there any areas where you need support with specific topics? Are there any resources that have been particularly helpful for you? I know that there have been a lot of changes in the state right now with SNAP Ed and other things with SNAP changes. So please feel free to share. Okay, I'm going to go back to our list. Anne Arundel, Food Council, do we have anyone here with us today?
Hi, me, Diana. It's funny that we should be talking about this today because it has been on my mind, especially here in Anne Arundel County, of how we move forward and what is our new goal. I don't know if anyone else that is chairing food councils I feel a little stagnant. I feel like, what is our next step? So right now here in Anne Arundel County, what I'm looking at is what is our goals for the next 3 months, and then what is our long-term goals. We've already established a roadmap, but it seems like with everything that has happened, things are constantly changing. I'm not sure if the roadmap is relevant. You know what I mean? And then I don't know if anyone else is having problems, but a lot of people here in Anne Arundel County don't believe that the big beautiful bill is going to have any effect on our food system until later. I think otherwise, and I would like to hear from anyone else if you feel the same, because I think that we're already seeing some changes. I also feel, and I don't know exactly how to bring it up, and I don't want to ramble, how to bring up the fact that we are going to be seeing shortages of our food supply, and how can I make that be understood and real, and yet still knowing that people are desperately in need of food. That's where I'm at right now, and I'm really working on trying to come up with a strategic plan of how to move us forward and be effective.
Thanks, Diana. Any questions for Diana? Lindsay, did you want to give an update for Baltimore City?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. Let's see. We've been up to a number of things. So we just hosted our Food Policy Action Coalition quarterly meeting yesterday. We had some updates from Maryland Hunger Solutions, Baltimore City Public Schools. And really that focus was on, similar to, I think her name is Diane, what Diane was just saying about just what's happening on a legislative standpoint. So that's where, I'm sorry, not Maryland Hunger Solutions. It was JD, who used to work at Maryland Hunger Solutions. He's now with DHS. So they provided a nice update of just like everything that's happening and tentative timelines. And then we had 2 breakout sessions where we focused on our emergency produce distribution program and then also our online SNAP program, Be More Fresh. From like a general standpoint of what the city's been doing, we are still implementing our 5 ARPA programs, but we've been really thinking a lot lately about what it'll look like post ARPA. So looking into just different approaches to strategic planning after our ARPA programming is finished. So that's been a big focus point for us. And then we've also been working with various city agencies just to better understand how these new federal changes are impacting some of the residents that we serve. And if there are specific programs we should stand up from an emergency standpoint, just to kind of supplement some of the gaps that we're going to see, especially around SNAP. And then our last kind of big bucket that we've been working on is preparing for our next resident food equity advisor cohort. So that will take place in November, and that's a 6-month cohort. We'll work with 14 residents. They will be compensated for their time, and they will provide input on some of the strategic planning processes for like our post-ARPA plan, and then also for our comp plan priorities. So high level, but a number of different things. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions for Lindsay about the Baltimore City Food Policy Action Coalition? Okay, Beth Brewster, do we have you here for Caroline County?
I had a
Teresa.
Oh,
question.
Teresa, sorry, go ahead.
As a question,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. You had mentioned the online SNAP, and I think you said a name of that. Could you repeat that and share just a little bit about that?
Oh, I would be happy to. I wasn't totally sure how much detail to go in for these updates, but that's the program I manage. The program is called Be More Fresh. It is an online SNAP program. It is an online SNAP produce voucher program. I will put a link in the chat to our landing page that describes it in much greater detail, but in a nutshell, it provides SNAP recipients $30 every month to use for fresh fruits and vegetables. That will go through the end of December 2026. And really the primary goal of this program is to increase online SNAP participation and make online shopping more accessible to those enrolled in SNAP. And that was launched in the beginning of the pandemic when we saw SNAP participation in online grocery shopping at an all-time high, and was trying to make online grocery shopping more accessible.
That's awesome. And how is that funded?
That is funded through the American Rescue Plan Act funding, so it utilizes federal funding. It's only available to Baltimore City residents because of the funding structure, and it's through 2026.
And are you finding good redemption rates for the program?
We're finding they're continuing to go up and up and up. We're doing a lot of outreach work, especially with our senior sites and those living with disabilities and our Baltimore City DSS offices. But yeah, if you want more details, I'll put my email in the chat as well, and we'll be happy to answer specific questions for you. Yeah.
Thank you very
Teresa.
much.
No problem.
Okay, thank you both. Beth, did you want to go ahead and speak for Caroline County?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I like spending my lunch hour with you. So Caroline County Food Stability, we are part of a collective impact group, Caroline Better Together. So there's a subgroup that comes off of that. So we are meeting again on Friday, and we really haven't met through the summer so much just because vacations and feeding children and people. But we've been gearing up to get more food because Diana's absolutely right. I definitely think there's going to be a crunch coming very shortly. So we've been trying to gear up by getting more food in for the backpack program. Last year we ended up, we have 5,400 students in Caroline County. We end up with 950 weekend bags that we were sending home. And it's slowly starting to creep up now. And we anticipate we'll be well over 1,000 by the holiday. And then we've also been working closely with our other food distribution. We are looking at a possibility. One of our partners is looking at a very large facility to move her project into, but we're looking at it to be a food access and a place for us to maybe be a landing place for Maryland Food Bank in the Midshore, but also for aggregation of with our farmers and working with a distribution organization to get the food in and the food out. So we also are working on mapping, but the mapping isn't just for food. I mean, that's a big part of it, but it's also on that map is housing and other resources for our citizens. So that's what we're doing in Caroline County. And we also are, one of our Towns is eligible for the enough funding through the state. So we're putting in our application for that. And we're hoping to be able to give more resources to the town of Federalsburg once that's put into with a community center that's more permanent, where people can get access to resources, but also food. That's all I have for Caroline.
Great. Thank you so much, Beth. Any questions for Beth?
Can I add, I'm sorry, let me add one more. I'm sorry. So we also are going to roll out in the next 2 weeks the bread coin project. So we'll be the first in the nation of a rural area. If you haven't heard of bread coin, they started in DC. They're in some of the major cities throughout the nation. Basically, it's giving with dignity, where the coins are worth $2.50 a piece, and you get participating restaurants, food trucks to be able to accept them. So anyone can purchase these coins to go out, and we are going to start with our Shore Gourmet bus, but also with our Shore Gourmet market, and then we'll start in Caroline County and hopefully spread out to the rest of the shore in the future. But it's just a way to basically give with dignity, so people aren't just handing box food. They can go and choose what they want to get. One, it's economic development for that, because they're going in and they're customers in these food establishments. So anyway, we're really hoping it's successful for rural America.
Thank you, Beth. That's an exciting announcement. Heather, did you have a question?
I did. Beth, I'm curious. It's so good to see you, and thank you for sharing your lunch hour with us. But your comment that you see, were you saying you see supply chain issues coming, or you see more like food access challenges coming in the connection with your weekend bag program? So I just wanted to, because I think we have general concerns, but I haven't heard of anything like concrete.
So Heather, I'm just going off. I don't have anything concrete to tell you why, but I think both. I think that there's going to be a supply chain issue, particularly with the tariffs, and I also think that the need is going to be so much greater. So and one more. I saw Nancy had something in there too. So this summer, Caroline County Public Schools, we did 108,000 summer meals. And we went door to door and served over 2,000 students in that period of time. And the need was very great. Nancy, you had something in the chat. Oh, the bread coin is funded. We raised funds. Actually, I went to a local foundation to get our starting funds for it. They also have national campaigns for it, and they'll assign a certain amount of funding to the area that the national funds were collected. But like we're planning to do a couple of fundraisers to be able to keep it going, like a food truck night at the Culinary Center and those type of things, and just to make awareness. And the other thing is that we too can purchase those bread coins to keep cash flow going into the system as well. Did I answer your question, Nancy?
It does, and it's just another example of why we need to clone you.
I don't think the world needs that, Nancy. Just saying. You can ask my supervisor, who would say absolutely not.
Great. Thank you so much, Beth. Michelle, did you want to give an update from Frederick County?
Yeah, Annika, I actually have slides. I'm not trying to be an overachiever. The reason I have slides is because we just oriented our new steering committee. So just in the interest of giving people a visual, do you mind if I share?
Not at all. Are you able to share?
I think so. Can you all see that? Great. So we are going through a pretty big transition at the Frederick County Food Council, and that transition has continued. But, you know, I think really we saw what I didn't put on this slide, and I think a lot of us can relate to, is a lot of volunteer burnout in the last couple of years, because the folks that had been volunteering to do these really resource intensive assessment projects, you know, really worked very hard and now feel like they want to volunteer their time on other things, which I completely understand. And we also were struggling a little bit with organizational legitimacy. And I just share that, you know, among the safe space of folks who are trying to build up their food council to be seen as a competent and focused, helpful partner in this landscape that often includes a lot of other partners and government entities and nonprofits doing great work in the food system. You know, how can we as food councils really add to that and not duplicate efforts? So we did a few things since the beginning of the year. We moved under a new fiscal sponsor called Federated Charities, which is a little bit more of a well-known sponsor and provides more sustainability to the organization over the medium term. Our previous steering committee approved an interim structure and dissolved. Our final remaining founder of the organization from 2018 decided to go ahead and step down, which I think I saw and a lot of other folks saw as a vote of confidence in the new direction, which was great. You know, I think she just wanted to make sure that the organization was going to survive. She feels confident in that and felt comfortable stepping away. So Lisa did great work and we really appreciate her, as she's been on these calls before. So we have now a 5-member executive committee. Ann Palmer was our external reviewer. So thank you, Ann, for reviewing those limited applications that we received for that process. And then we now have a 10-member steering committee, which is the meeting that we just had on Sunday, which is why I put together these slides to orient them. This is why we put together an interim period instead of saying that, you know, this is our new permanent structure. We really wanted new voices at the table to help shape how the Food Council can be effective in the future within a landscape, a complicated landscape, complicated federal situation and state situation. And the interim period goes through May of 2026. And then we have 2 dual purposes. So this was kind of squishy to get people to understand. So during this interim period, we're asking folks in the executive committee and the steering committee to, you know, help us develop a more sustainable model and continue working on current projects that build on the excellent previous work done. Those things are, you know, food security coordination. We put out a food pantry report for the county at the end of 2024. And then we have not yet released our carrot report, but it is in the very, very, very final stages. And so the group will be tasked with picking one of those recommendations to start working on. And so basically we're asking folks to either help us with, you know, that track 1, the operational track, or track 2, the strategic planning, but also, you know, that everyone brings these 3 roles with them to the Food Council, you know, new voices and perspectives, helping getting the work done and advising with specific expertise. So anyway, that was, I will stop sharing, but that just helped me explain what we're doing a little bit better. And I am happy to answer questions and I just think to Diana's point from earlier, I think that's one thing that hopefully we're all trying to think about in our own jurisdictions is, you know, if you put on your Food Council hat, because I know we all wear different hats, you know, what is the unique role that the Food Council can play in this community, in this situation that helps. And, you know, I think that's really what we're trying to focus on in Frederick. Because, you know, this is the time to collaborate and this is the time to enhance coordination, and food councils can be a really great place for that to happen. But, you know, it takes trust, I think, in our communities, and it's about building that trust and really being focused on where the food councils can play a unique role to help.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle about Frederick? Sounds like they've been very busy. Nancy, go ahead.
Hey, Michelle, I have a question about the Carrot program. Because I know looking at Carrot, a lot of time and energy goes into that and looking at so many different aspects. So maybe early in your strategic planning, I'm just interested to know how you're going to share what you learned with the community, and how, to build on that, to build, I guess, engagement with the Food Council. So it is so comprehensive, right? The Carrot tool. And I dropped a link for anyone who's not familiar with that acronym. It's 101 indicators. It's incredibly complicated, and no non-funded, because we currently don't know where our next dollar is coming from, entity can take it on. So I think what we will do is take the recommendations, and we were very lucky to partner with Hood College here in Frederick, who runs an initiative called Data Driven Frederick. They're going to host this Carrot tool report on their Data Driven Frederick, portal. So it'll be available to the community to look at, to review, to learn from, to get ideas about. But I think what the Food Council is going to do is probably pick one of these recommendations. I suspect it will be increasing SNAP and WIC acceptance at farmers markets, because even though SNAP, we have a few years left, and it's not, as great of a resource as it has been, and there's a lot of uncertainty, it's still something. And if we create infrastructure for that acceptance, it can be utilized in more places by more people, hopefully. So there are a lot of other recommendations, though, and that's where sort of having the report in existence, sharing it out. We're going to create a version of the report for elected officials. We're going to share with our county Office of Agriculture, who actually they did the final review of the report before we are making it public, the Office of Ag. And so I think we're just going to put it into the world as a resource. The interesting thing, this is just getting into the weeds, and we can have a discussion later in more detail, but so much has changed since that report was developed, since the data was collected. So there are things in there that no longer apply, like the regional food business resource centers, or whatever they're called, that are dissolving, and the lack of SNAP Ed moving forward. And there's just so many things that didn't make it into the recommendations because this was based on 2024 data. So trying to figure out how to acknowledge that and articulate that, and trying not to use those things as recommendations anymore because they don't exist. It's just so complicated. And, I think if I were to go back in time a few years, if I were with the Frederick County Food Council and serving as chair, I may have recommended that we pick one or two of the priority areas. There's seven different ones, maybe where we thought we could play a unique role, and just focus on a couple of these areas, not the full 101 indicators. So if anyone is looking at Carrot, I think there's no harm in starting where you see the Food Council maybe playing a big role, or being the most affected, or having community members with knowledge already seated at your council, versus taking on the whole thing, especially being a volunteer group. I hope that wasn't too much, Nancy. No, that was great. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Laura, are you here for, I don't think we have anyone from Howard County. Is that correct? Laura, I was going to call on you for Kent County. Is that right?
Yes, but there's a major update there.
Okay.
We have, in the last few months, transitioned Kent County Food Council to the Upper Shore Food Council. So we still have a much stronger contingent of Kent County stakeholders participating. So one of our main goals right now is to expand Cecil and Queen Anne's County participation. So a lot of our conversations still are very Kent County centric, but we're working on expanding that out further. And then with that, we're also trying to find ways for the Midshore and the Lower Shore food councils, for the three of us to be also collaborating and finding space for opportunities, since the three councils share so much in common compared to other places in Maryland. We have established a few key areas of work, and those areas of work have working groups. We still need to do a little bit more around organizing those working groups and getting them on a regular meeting schedule, but we're looking to focus on local food procurement, food access and transportation, value added production, which goes hand in hand with working with our farmers as well, and then food security and food pantries, which also includes some SNAP discussions and farmers market, SNAP, and things like that. We are moving to an every other month schedule of meetings, with the meetings in between. We're hoping to have more meetings that might include other councils or, other stakeholders that aren't active participants in the food council that are on specific topics. And that's actually maybe something that could be a place where this group could help us think of potential speakers or things like that. So Nancy, of course, with her strong knowledge, has a few suggestions that we have coming up around value added production, Martin Pruitt, and then we want to, now that Maryland Market Money has transitioned to Maryland Department of Agriculture, we want to look at that and make sure that our farmers markets in our region are, appropriately utilizing that resource. When as Michelle and others have been talking about, we are struggling as we start to try to bring in more stakeholders from the other counties, and we're struggling with that identity of how are we being additive? Why are we not just another group that's asking people to meet? And so trying to find those ways that we can be additive, and we feel like networking and information sharing is one opportunity for us. And so that's, we're trying to give some attention to that. And with that also, as a co-coordinator, one of the things that I'm trying to give focus to over the next few months is improving our visibility, because if you're not present on the web, then you don't exist, right? So trying to get some basic communications out there with a website and a jazzy name. So right now we're leaning towards Upper Shore Farm and Food and Farm Collaborative. So that's where we're going. So lots of things in the works, but not enough time to do any of it.
Great. Thank you so much, Laura. And that's exciting to hear about how Kent County and the Upper Shore group are kind of combining forces. Any questions for Laura? I have one. Laura, do you know what the timeline would be for, you said you're working on a website and doing some kind of branding for the council. Do you have a sense for when that will take place?
I hope to have something by the new year. We don't want to move so fast that it's just a few of us on the steering committee making decisions. So things like that can take a little bit more time than we would like. But yeah, we have done a survey of our members to find that name, and then I think we'll be presenting in the next meeting some starts to what that branding might look like and what could be on a website and things like that. But launching it might take a little bit of time.
Thank you. That's really exciting. Any questions for Laura? Anne says she likes the name in the chat. Okay, so thank you so much. Nancy, are you here for Midshore? Is that right? And Lower Shore?
I'm here for Midshore.
Oh, that's here for Mitch.
And I don't know, is anybody here for Lower Shore, Nance?
No, but I don't think so unless Lauren's on the call, but I can briefly talk about the Lower Shore.
So Midshore, so they did change the name to Midshore Food Alliance. And they do have we worked on a logo that we're going to fine tune a little bit. We're working on a one pager and our elevator pitch for the Alliance. Same as Laura, we've established subcommittees from the main and trying to get the right players at the table. So we have better decision makers and better people with more information to help us with that. We are working with No Kid Hungry for mapping for the Midshore. Laura, I'm not sure. I think they reached out to you guys as well, maybe.
We're that is one of the things that we're going to try to be working on more.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So and they're offered it to, I think, to all three of all of the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So we are taking them up on that to get the mapping so that we can see where the best location are, where we have cold storage, where are farmers, where's aggregation, all those things, so that we could be better equipped to get them out, get our farmers to continue to farm, right? Get them with schools, figuring out who's GAP certified, who's not GAP certified, those type of things. And then, yeah, I think the steering committee has been, like Laura said, it's very small and a lot of decisions are coming from there. So we are trying to get more people involved into those subcommittees to be able to report into the bigger picture. Nancy, I'm gonna not throw you, I'm gonna, so kind of Eastern Shore has a food council, policy food council, right? We have an Eastern Shore.
Well, the Eastern Shore one, I'm going to say it was really started as a result of the food insecurity symposium this year, and was started with the idea of really hoping that three distinct ones would arise for the Upper Shore, the Mid Shore, and the Lower Shore, and that's happened. So the Eastern Shore Food Council, I think there's been some conversation about, is there the need for an overarching one? Is there a need at the beginning just to sort of see what the resources are and how we can work together? And in the long run with that council, if they decide to stick with an overarching, what role would it play?
So that's kind of, I guess it's a good forum to talk about, like in my brain, which can be very hard-headed, is I thought the Eastern Shore was the place for the three councils to be able to come up and to talk about the needs. Yep. And that's where that Eastern Shore would be the one communicating with the Maryland Food Resiliency Committee and looking at the policies and, and what our needs are here on the shore that sometimes aren't represented because we're not that strong of a voice. So that's
I think, go ahead.
That was what was in my brain, was like once a year or twice a year, like we assign somebody from each of the shore councils, 2 or 3 people, to come together with you, who's very smart, to help us to convey what we need to convey to the Maryland Food Resiliency.
That's what I was thinking as well. So you and I are on the same page, at least, Beth.
So I think part of it is, and we can get offline about this. I know everybody else, if you're not from the shore, but I think part of it is really trying to get the shore to have a greater voice over Indianapolis and elsewhere. You're right, Beth. And I think some of that's sort of organically growing, at least in Kent County, as a result of some of the efforts. So yes, and shout out to Ann Palmer for speaking with all the food councils. Mm-hmm. And as Lauren said, I think the Eastern Shore the greater food council sort of looks at it too, of being able to provide those educational opportunities, webinars, that can help all of the food councils.
Well,
So,
we're thinking about having that one group annually, right? But yeah, I mean, that was huge. That
Yeah.
brought people I didn't even think. Do you know what I mean? Like people that weren't in that food world were so involved. So that's all I have for Midshore Food Council.
so for the lower shore, and then I'll stop talking. I know that Lauren Anstead from the Eastern Shore Community Foundation is the lead, and she's been great at bringing the group together. I know that they are dealing with many of the same conversations that both the Midshore and Upper Shore councils are having. They are working with No Kid Hungry to map their area. And also, I want to give a shout out to Washington College Center for the Environment and Society. Worked with one of our interns this summer to actually provide sort of some basic information about the 3 counties on the lower shore, and looked at ideas for what a food council could look like based on that information and based on examples elsewhere in the country. So I know that will be presented to that food council in October. So yeah, things are moving on the shore.
Thank you, Nancy. That's really exciting. Any questions for Nancy? Okay, I know we don't have anyone from the Montgomery County Food Council. I don't know if Heather, you want to say anything on their behalf, if you would have an update for them.
Yeah, thank you. So I can't speak on their behalf, but in case it's helpful / of interest to the group, I can share from a government perspective how we have been working with our local food council, because I think it does provide a useful example of how local government investing in food councils is really mutually beneficial. And I think that's something that we've been growing, the partnership that's contractual and funded between local government and the Montgomery County Food Council as an established nonprofit community-based organization. So I just brainstormed kind of 6 main buckets of things that they have been leading in partnership with our office. And just for context, our local government agency stewards about $14 million to 70 different organizations to provide a wide variety of services, primarily through funded through grants. And so that's a lot of community partners and organizations that are doing critical work and are funded by the county, but really benefit from non-government support in both operational strength as well as just kind of as an organization and as community partners. So so that's really where the Food Council steps in providing hands-on support to all those entities through things like convenings. They've been hosting about 6 different convenings per year that are open to the public. I think they usually have about 60 different people who come. And so, for example, on Monday, they did a training on emergency preparedness at food assistance sites. They also convene regionally specific groups of partners to try to facilitate more collaboration and cooperation and resource sharing amongst partners in particular corners of the county. They've been providing trainings, and our county contracts, or I'm sorry, our county grant agreements require that our grantees participate in these convenings and attend these trainings. So we can kind of reinforce participation because, you know, I think it's a requirement of accessing that funding. So in some ways it's training of things like grant making, capacity building for nonprofit organizations, data collection, culturally sensitive service delivery. But then it's also, you know, things like it can be much more technology oriented or things like that. And they're a combination of in-person and virtual. coordinating site visits for the broader community, which is really great when our legislators can go and see on the ground what a food forest looks like, for example. And in addition to that, also members of the community and others who are interested in learning about the food system. They help us gather a lot of information. So we conduct every other year a census of our food assistance provider network, and that's gathering basic information that then drives our directories and our interactive maps and referral programs, just to know who's out there, how are they operating, and know what that landscape looks like. Information like that is super critical when we are navigating changes at the federal level, for example, and really need to understand in a real-time way what service demand looks like. They also help all of our grantees comply with their reporting requirements to our office. So that's a big part of our grant agreements, is that we have standardized data collection across all of our programs to really be able to communicate, this is what local dollars are doing by investing in these organizations, and this is what the trends are that we're seeing in use of those funds. They've been hosting a bunch of special events. So next week they're hosting something on land access for food farming as relates to incubator farms and beginner farming training programs. And then finally, we've been working with them really closely on resource referral. They convene our nutrition benefits outreach or partner organizations. And so they've been connecting around things like the change in SNAP requirements, the loss of SNAP Ed, and so creating spaces where community partners that are partially funded by the county government can share what they're working on, have trusted spaces where they can address their, the challenges that they're encountering in ways that wouldn't happen if it was the government itself facilitating those conversations. And so we also have, as the county government, an MC Groceries program, which is a partnership with Instacart. And our goal this year, we've got about 500 families enrolled. Our goal is to get up to 1,000, where families it's basically like SNAP for families with children that are not eligible for SNAP. And so the Food Council has been helping screen and refer families to enroll in that program, so that because they are a trusted community partner, and when they're doing their SNAP outreach work, if they determine a family is not eligible for SNAP, they can then refer them to the more local level resource that is available to them. So they're doing lots of great things. I'm sure they can talk a lot more about what they're doing, but from a county perspective, that's how they've really been strengthening and value adding the work that we do together.
Thank you so much, Heather. That was really helpful. Any questions for Heather, even though she is not representing the Montgomery County Food Council, about the work that they are doing in Montgomery County? Okay, thank you. I don't think we have anyone here from Prince George's Food Equity Council this time.
I can talk a little bit about
Okay.
what we're doing. Yeah, so I've been working with Michelle. Michelle Burton is the Prince George's County Food Equity Council director now. They've been going through a lot of changes. Mainly, they've gone through a lot of different kind of positional kind of leadership in the past couple of years, and now they're from a full-time to a half-time person. They used to have multiple people. So I think there's definitely some budget constraints. And so we've been trying to, I have some students that are trying to help her. They used to have like 133 food pantries within their network. And because of some of these changes, some of those connections have been kind of lost. So we've been calling food pantries and helping them kind of get back into, are they interested in reconnecting? We're having a meeting on September 17th to kind of talk about opportunities of reconnection and some of the things that we're doing at the university that they can get involved with, as well as some of the things the food resiliency, the Prince George's Food Equity Council are planning. So we're trying to get kind of reorganized and rejuvenated. And they also recently just had a call on the effects of SNAP Ed, and we're going to talk about that again on the 17th as well. And so we're working. I'd say it's slow, but just because of all the changes and the need to kind of re-engage. And so Michelle isn't here, but it's I think it's been difficult just of the she's doing a great job, but going from multi people in the staff to now a half-time person is a challenge.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Lansing. Any questions for Dr. Lansing? I know we always go with the Western Maryland Food Council last, Teresa, so I owe you a reversal of the list next time.
That's okay. Thank you. My maiden name was Yosuika with a Y, so I'm used to being at the end. Thanks. So we are biting off the full carrot assessment in Allegheny, Washington, and Garrett County. So I appreciated what you said about that, Michelle. Frederick is our role model. They've gone before us, and we are participating now and working with Data Driven Frederick also, which has been really wonderful. And we're, very excited to see your report, Michelle. But I really take to heart what you said, because it is such a big ask with 150 or 101 or 2 with Frederick's additional question and indicators. So I'm just excited about it because it is an opportunity to reach out to people in the community, to raise awareness about the Food Council and just get a conversation going. So I'm really looking at it in that regard. And we sent our survey out to farmers. We just did that. So anyways, to be continued, but we're appreciative for Frederick going first and everything that we can learn from you all, Michelle. We really appreciate it. And then we have a grant through the Maryland Department of Health through their chronic disease prevention and control. And we're doing these community farmer bounty boxes. We had 3 farmers that signed up for SNAP, which I have to say has been a big challenge. And it's kind of a barrier to why farmers don't want to sign up for SNAP at their farms. We have 2 markets in our county that accept SNAP as a full market. But then for the farmers to accept it at their farm so they can do boxes like CSA produce boxes with people with SNAP, we didn't have anybody in our county that did that. So we got 3 farmers that were willing to do that. One is all set and ready to go. And we're doing 2 boxes. The first one is on Monday. And the boxes contain most of the ingredients for 2 recipes. We have a mushroom egg frittata and a tomato corn salad. And we worked with the culinary school through Allegheny College to create a video for those recipes. And so they're also getting measuring cups and spoons in the box, and they only have to pay $5 for a over $30 value, really. So it's a very exciting project. The next box we're doing in collaboration with an elementary school. And so we're very excited about that. They're contributing the dry ingredients. We're doing a minestrone soup and a tossed green salad with tomatoes and cucumbers. So we're very excited about this community farmers bounty boxes, and hopefully, yes, they have to qualify for SNAP. They have to have SNAP in order to do that. I'm seeing Nancy saying something. This is funded through the Maryland Department of Health Office for Chronic Disease Prevention, Chronic Disease Prevention and Control. That is who the funding is from. And there were maybe 4 or 5 pilot programs last summer. Garrett County, which is also part of our Food Council, did a pilot last year. And we, again, talked to them. I worked with them to put our submission in. And they awarded 2 counties, I believe, this year. And so we were one of them. So you're working to streamline. That's great, Nancy. Yes, I mean, that's a great idea, and I really appreciate this. And Oh, thanks, Anne, to complete the survey. Very good. So then we're also doing another grant called Nourishing Neighbors, which is a fresh local produce distribution and resource exchange. And we got this grant through, it's actually a Care First grant. The County United Way got, and we're doing the work for it. We just came under a new fiscal sponsor, the Appalachian Farm and Food Alliance. And so our we were registered federally, but didn't have our number yet. So County United Way was kind enough to partner, and they are so excited about this partnership. So they really weren't very involved in the Food Council before. So this project has opened the door for their involvement, and they want to keep helping us with events. They really are pleased with this. But we do a produce box. So we go and do a food demo and tasting when we give the boxes away. They're either 75 boxes or 100 boxes. We had 5 sites in our county and 7 sites in Garrett County. And not all of them had food demos, but the vast majority of them did have food demos. And talk about being affected by the SNAP Ed elimination, which is so heartbreaking. We have 3 people in our county that have lost their jobs by the end of September, and they were going to do 4 of the demos, and I was going to do 1, and now I did 3, and they're doing 1 because they're phasing out. So I know this is going to, you know, affect our county a lot, and they're working with the community school coordinators. I know the community school coordinators' hearts are very in food, and they have provided food at community presentations that I've done. They've provided food for this box that we're doing. So they really want to work in the area of food. So I'm really grateful for them. But after the talk that we had with the distribution and access and environmental subcommittees, and we learned that the requirements for CEP may be getting more difficult. These community school coordinators are in the schools that qualify, meet the requirements for CEP for free and reduced lunches. So I'm concerned that then less of our schools will qualify. Then we'll have less community school coordinators. So that's an area. And then interestingly, and I don't know all the details of this because I'm not in Garrett County, but speaking of WIC and Farmers Market Nutrition Redemptions, that's always something that, you know, we're working to try to increase. But Garrett County had one of the lowest redemption rates in the state, in the teens. And they are piloting this program where they now do boxes of produce. Like, I don't know if it's $15 boxes or $30 boxes, but their WIC participants can now just go and get a box. They have these set times set up for distributing the boxes. And I know I talked to someone from Garrett County about this. It's been a while, so I'm thinking the numbers are higher, but their numbers were up in the 50-something% redemption. So I think this is might be an excellent idea for some of our more rural counties where transportation is really a big problem. And then our county health department now has that we got a grant for a Heal Mobile. So we're going to have a mobile health unit, and WIC is going to be part of that. So they're going to be able to go to festivals and things like that and sign people up for WIC. So we're having reproductive health services, maternal health care, substance use, STD testing, and dental services, and signing people up for Medicaid. So and WIC. So we have a lot of services that are going to be able to be mobile now, and we should have that van, and the program should start by the beginning of the year. So thank you.
Teresa, thank you so much. As always, Western Maryland is doing so much. Any questions for Teresa? Well, thank you everyone for joining us today and for all of your amazing updates. I will follow up to schedule our next local food council collaborative meeting But please feel free to reach out. In the meantime, if you have any questions or updates you'd like shared with the other local food councils.
Anna,
Go ahead. Yeah.
just want to put a plug in. I did put something in the chat, but we just launched the survey, the Food Policy Council survey that we do nationally. It would be great to have everybody complete it. You do not need to be in existence for a long time. There is an option that just says, you know, you're just getting started, but we really do like to keep a track on it. And we've been doing them like every 18 months to 2 years. It was 2 years this last time around. So shouldn't take more than about 20 minutes. So really appreciate if you all could do that.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.